Press TV News, the Tunisian president leaves the country following weeks of deadly unrest. In Jordan, thousands of protesters are demanding the government step down because of soaring prices, unemployment and poverty. And in Pakistan, thousands of people protest the Pope's comments on Pakistan's blasphemy law. This is the news on Press TV. Thank you so much for joining us. The political crisis in Tunisia is the top story this hour. The country's president, Zain al-Abidine Ben Ali, has left the country following weeks of deadly unrest. In a statement on national television, Prime Minister Mohamed Ghannouchi said that Ben Ali had left the country and that he had assumed power as interim president. Ghannouchi called on all Tunisians to unite and vowed to restore stability. Before his sudden departure, Ben Ali declared a state of emergency and promised to hold elections in 6 months' time. The army is now in control of Tunisia's main international airport.
In Tunisia, weeks of increasing political unrest and deadly violence has forced the president of the country, Zain al-Abidine Ben Ali, to leave the country, putting it in a state of uncertainty. Before leaving, Ben Ali sacked his government and called early elections within 6 months. The government has also declared a national state of emergency, banning public gatherings and authorizing security forces to shoot anyone who disobeys orders. The West African Tunisia has been grappling with weeks of unrest, triggered by rising food prices, unemployment and what's perceived as rampant corruption among its officials. In the latest demonstrations, the capital Tunis witnessed another day of violent protests, with police using batons and tear gas to disperse thousands who were demanding the resignation of the country's president, Ben Ali. The protesters were furious over the news of the killing of 13 more people during clashes with police on Thursday night.
You killed your people, leave immediately. We have had enough of promises, enough of lies.
It's too late. During a speech, there were people getting killed in Kairouan. We have no trust anymore.
The deaths came despite Ben Ali's promise to put an end to the use of live ammunition on protesters. The government says around 20 people have been killed in the clashes so far, but rights groups say the toll is more than 3 times that number. It seems the promises of creating more jobs and cutting food prices no longer satisfy protesters, who are now demanding radical reforms in the political system. After several years of relative calm, a forceful uprising has surprised many people. Some analysts believe this has not happened overnight and that there has been a feeling of smouldering resentment resulting from 23 years of dishonesty, corruption and oppression by the ruling system.
If you've just joined us, we are following the developing situation in Tunisia, the political crisis that has gripped the country for a month now. It came to a head today, Friday, January 14th, 2011. We have seen the president of the country, Ben Ali, leave the country for Malta. Some reports are saying that he might be on his way to Paris, France. It all happened today. Now the Prime Minister, Mohamed Ghannouchi, is in power. He is the interim president now. The country is now being run by him and the military that is in control of the main international airport. There is a heavy security presence as well. Massive crowds of people have taken to the streets, have been demanding the president to relinquish power. That has happened today. He has left the country. Before he did that, he dismissed the government and announced early elections to be held in 6 months' time. Let's give you a timeline of what happened in the past month. On the 17th of December last year, a young man called Muhammad Bouaziz, a 26, some say 27-year-old graduate of university, he set himself on fire because, well, he was selling vegetables in a central town in Tunisia when he was confronted by the authorities, who told him that he could not continue doing that unless he got permission for it. And that set off the massive protest over unemployment. Bouaziz's protest well, it touched off a wave of unrest and clashes in that small town in an impoverished area of the country. 2 were killed in those clashes, and later on, in January 2011, this year, on this side, more than 50 people were reportedly killed in 3 days of rioting in the central Kasserine region. That, according to a trade union representative. But the authorities, of course, put that number at 21. The president, Ben Ali, slammed what he called the terrorist acts by hoodlums, but also pledged to create 300,000 extra jobs in a television address. But that did not appease the protesters, who continued chanting slogans against him and calling on him and the ruling elite to step down. Now, I'm going to stop right here. I'm going to bring in Sheikh Rachid Ghannouchi. He is the leader of the opposition an-nahda party. He is a Tunisian himself, but he joins me now from London. Mr. Ghannouchi, thank you so much for being with us. The president has left the country, we all know that, but the ruling party is still in power. What is the opposition's plan?
الوضع لا يزال غامضا.
The situation is unclear.
فالرئيس لم يعلن استقالته، أعلن أنه غادر البلاد وأناب الوزير الأول يقوم بمهام الرئاسة.
The president has announced that he's leaving. He didn't announce that he's going to resign. And the Prime Minister is just going to be being his vice at the moment. He's just going to replace him for the moment. If he comes back.
هذه العملية من الناحية الدستورية ليست دستورية.
This kind of action from the constitutional sense is not constitutional at all.
من الناحية السياسية هي محاولة التفاف، المحاولة الثالثة لالتفاف بن علي على انتفاضة الشعب التي تطالب برحيله وعائلته وحزبه.
And this is the third time that Ben Ali has tried to abort the intifada or the uprising against Ben Ali that demands him leaving and his family, the Trablsia, to leave as well.
وحزبه أيضا.
And his party.
فوجئ التونسيون اليوم بأنه أحد أعوان بن علي وخاصة الجلاد المشهور القلال يكون في المشهد يعني لتنصيب الوزير الأول رئيسا للبلاد يعني.
Yani, the people of Tunisia were surprised to see that the head torturer was placed as the person to lead the country at the moment, in this moment in time.
وإعطاء السلطة للوزير الأول.
And giving the authority to the Prime Minister.
وهو وزير داخلية سابق وجلاد معروف.
And he is a ex-interior minister and a well-known torturer.
All right, Mr. Ghannouchi, is there a possibility of Mr. Ben Ali's return? Do you think that he may venture back into the country, or do you think this is the end of his rule after nearly 3 decades?
أنا أعتقد بأن بن علي انتهى والمسألة لا تحتاج إلا للإعلان عن ذلك.
I believe that Ben Ali is finished, and it just needs for the for it to be announced that he is finished.
الشعب من شماله إلى جنوبه ومن شرقه إلى غربه يهتف بصوت واحد بسقوط بن علي وسقوط حزبه ووضع حد لنهب الأرزاق ولجلد الظهور.
The people of Tunisia, from the north to the south, from all regions, they've said with one clear voice that they want Ben Ali out, they want his Trabilsiya, the family out, and they want the RCD, the ruling party, out as well, and they also want the practice of torture to stop.
ونحن ندعوه إلى أن ندعو جماهير الشعب التي ضحت بالأرواح والدماء خلال 22 سنة من حكم بن علي، وهي في اللحظة الأخيرة قبل إعلان النصر أن ترابط في الساحات العامة وتنتظم في لجان حتى تحافظ على الأمن إلى أن يعلن سقوط الطاغية وتتولى حكومة ائتلاف وطني.
And we call upon all the people to carry on picketing and protesting until the declaration that this regime has fallen, and to create committees to secure the different parts of the country from any insecurity.
That's a very important thing you just touched upon, Mr. Ghannouchi. Is the opposition united in case of a power vacuum to fill that in and to take over from the ruling regime?
Can you just repeat it?
All right, I will go again. My question is the opposition's leadership, the opposition, united in case of a power vacuum in Tunisia to be able to take over and carry on?
هل أنتم متحدون يعني؟
هناك اتصالات بيننا وبين أحزاب المعارضة من أجل الاتفاق على مطالب الشعب وتشكيل هيئة وطنية تقود.
We have been in contact with us and other opposition parties and other parties in order to represent the demands of the Tunisian people in order to implement these issues and move forward.
And one more question, Mr. Ghannouchi. I'm sure you as a Tunisian expatriate can answer that. There is a lot of anger in Tunisia against the president himself, who has now left the country for Malta, according to some reports, for Paris in France. But there's also a lot of anger against members of the president's family. Where does this anger emanate from?
هذه العائلة عائلة فقيرة ولكنها أصبحوا من كبار الأثرياء، يملكون بنوك ويملكون شركات وأراضي ومباني ونهبوا أموال الشعب، ولذلك هناك نقمة شديدة. أنا شخصيا لما كنت أتصور أن النقمة على هذه العائلة بهذا الحجم الذي فجر انتفاضة فبسبب ما مارسته من نهب. الكثير من أملاك هذه العائلة تم إحراقها، رغم أن لسنا مع الإحراق، وإنما نحن مع إعادة هذه الممتلكات إلى الشعب، ولكن نقمة الشعب بالغة فأحرقت كل أو كثير من الممتلكات المغتصبة.
This family has been one of the poorest in Tunisia, and then suddenly they own banks, estates, and multi-million businesses, and other companies which are listed. Suddenly, they've done this through stealing money from the Tunisian people and from actually taking over businesses which are wholly owned and legally owned by others. So over time, there has been seething animosity towards them. And I have been myself very surprised by the type of animosity which resulted in the burning of these companies or the estates of these companies, these banks, which in fact are owned by the Tunisian people, and I believe that they should not be burnt or destroyed, but should be given back to the Tunisian people. These things must be given back to them.
ومصدر هذه الثروة كلها انطلقت من زوجة بن علي، يعني هذه مصدر الثروة يعني.
And all of this wealth has come from the wife of the President Ben Ali, and she has been the source.
التي بادرت منذ بداية الانتفاضة إلى الهرب خارج البلاد، هي وبعض أسرتها يعني.
Who has started running away from the country as soon as this uprising has begun, with herself and with some of her family.
يقولون أنها ذهبت إلى دبي.
They say that she's in Dubai.
And Sheikh Rachid, do you plan to go back to your country when things settle down?
قريبا جدا إن شاء الله.
Very soon, inshallah.
Sheikh Rachid ghannouchi, the leader of the an-nahda party, speaking with us live from London with the English translation there. Thank you so much to both of you. Now, moving on with the news on Press TV. Thousands of Jordanians have taken to the streets across the country to call for the sacking of the government.
We came here to support a social movement. We think the government's measures to reduce prices do not make a difference. This is just an attempt to observe the reaction of the society and stop it from demonstrating.
Protesters chanted anti-government slogans in the capital Amman and called for the resignation of Prime Minister Samir Rifai. Similar demonstrations were held in other cities. Jordanians are unhappy about rising commodity prices, unemployment and poverty. On Tuesday, Jordan announced a $170 million plan to reduce the prices of commodities and create jobs. The protesters say such measures are too little too late. Major trade unions have planned a sit-in outside the parliament on Sunday. In Pakistan now, thousands of demonstrators have gathered in 3 cities to protest the Pope's comments regarding Pakistan's blasphemy law. Pope Benedict XVI has called on Pakistan to scrap the death penalty for those who insult Islamic sanctities. The Pope says that the blasphemy law could be used as a pretext for acts of injustice and violence against religious minorities. The pontiff made the comments in his annual address to diplomats, but his words have been slammed as interference in Pakistan's domestic affairs. Friday's protests were held in support of the law. A senior leader of Jamiat Ulema Islam Party says the Pope is highly respected as a Christian leader, but he must refrain from interfering in the religious affairs of others. Pakistan's government says it has no plans to amend the blasphemy law. A quick reminder of the headlines now on Press TV. The Tunisian president has left the country following weeks of deadly unrest. In Jordan, thousands of protesters are demanding the government step down because of soaring prices, unemployment, and poverty. And in Pakistan, thousands of people protest the Pope's comments on Pakistan's blasphemy law.